Good evening and welcome to Mindful Conversations. I am Dr. Lori Monaco with Align Yourself, Inc. I am a life coach specializing in transformation and mindfulness practice. I am also known as the Badass Buddha. I am a holistic practitioner as well. And welcome to another episode with my absolutely beautiful, courageous, and talented and kick-ass guest tonight, Nicole Snell. Nice to see you, Nicole. So let me tell you about this fabulous lady. And you don't get on her bad side, but you'll learn that in a minute. Okay, so just kidding. She's so sweet looking, right? But you always have to watch out. That's just it. Okay. So Nicole Snell is the CEO of Girls Fight Back, the world-renowned women's empowerment and self-defense program that has reached over 1 million people worldwide and is a dynamic international speaker, host, and full contact self-defense instructor specializing in sexual assault and violence prevention education, personal safety, and empowerment. Nicole is a lead instructor for Impact Personal Safety, where she also sits on the board of directors. Nicole is the creator of Outdoor Defense, an IGTV series that provides safety strategies to encourage people to enjoy the outdoors solo, which was inspired by her love of adventure, the outdoors, traveling, and hiking solo. This one's huge. I definitely want to talk about that piece for sure tonight. Nicole has facilitated sexual assault prevention workshops at over 70 military installations worldwide and in 2017. Credentialed advocate and a collaborative partner with Difference Makers 10 Strong. Nicole was featured in a self-defense instruction video by Taste Made Travel that won a People's Voice Webby Award in May 2020 and has been a guest on numerous podcasts, now including this one. So welcome, Nicole. Oh my goodness. I was so excited to talk to you. When I read your bio, I was just like, yes, I love, listen, it's one thing to be mentally empowered, but when you also bring it in with like the physical empowerment, the fact that, we can be strong and we can protect ourselves. So that releases a lot and allows us so much more independence. So welcome. How are you this evening?
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited to be here with you. I'm doing great. I'm just very honored and humbled to be here with you on your show. So thank you for having me.
Thank you. So she's coming all the way from, she's not all the way from, she's in California. That's the lovely thing about Zoom and I guess COVID, right? So we're talking on two different coastlines, but so how's everything going in California? How are things over there?
Everything's good. I'm just working very hard every day, bringing the programs online and connecting with people and trying to get outside to get some sunshine as often as I can and to get out hiking while also being safe. So, it's just, you just taking it day by day and trying to be as flexible as possible.
And that is a very key point. That's a good segue in because, the whole premise of the show really is to talk about mindfulness practices, but also about being you, being your authentic self, your story. And you've got a lot going on, girl. Like you are an entrepreneur, advocate, CEO, instructor, and I had to add this because you are an overall badass.
Thank you.
Ground yourself and create balance.
Well, I do have a lot on my plate and I tend to work better when I am busy and I am forced to multitask and time manage. That's just the type of personality that I am. So I thrive in those types of environments. But for me to ground myself, that's the outdoors. That's hiking, hands down. I move. I really can't sit still. So for me to sit down and meditate is very, very difficult for me to do.
My daughter would appreciate that comment.
Yeah, it's very hard. I can do it in small doses, and I've done some and done breathing exercises, which are very helpful. I've been in a healing circle with a group of Black women that her name is Carolyn, and she created a healing circle for us, and she leads us in some breathing exercises, and someone else leads us in meditation, and that I can do, but I'm not the type of person that can sit and meditate every day. like silently. But for me, hiking, I can hike every day. And for me, hiking is meditative and nature is meditative because from the time I was a little girl, I just always connected with nature. I just wanted to be outside. I wanted to be digging in the dirt. I wanted to be out watching the sunset. I wanted to be out catching lizards or collecting rocks and just really enjoying and appreciating everything that's around you and how beautiful nature is. And, you know, even now when I go out on a trail, I'm mesmerized by spider webs and, you know, how perfect they are, or, you know, oh, the bird that I see that I haven't seen that type, you know, everything I just am in awe of because I feel like it's so special. And when I'm out hiking, it's very meditative for me because it's my feet on the ground. It's the air coming into my lungs. It's my eyes taking in everything that's around me. It's my ears that are picking up the sounds of the wind or the animals. And, you know, I can walk as fast or as slow as I need to, depending on what kind of challenge I want. And just that in itself just helps ground me. I do some of my best thinking when I'm out hiking and like trying to catch my breath when I'm going up a really big hill, and then getting to the top and having that moment of reflection of, you know, I just made it. No matter if it's a small hill or a big mountain, just being outside is really what grounds me. As long as I can have that, even if it's just walking in my neighborhood at night after working all day and just getting some fresh air, that is really what helps me.
That's great. And, you know, and I'm glad you brought up the fact with meditation, because a lot of times people think that, you know, that's the big thing now. If you listen to any podcasts or you're listening to CEOs talking and they're talking about mindfulness practice and they always say meditation, and I do meditation myself. I used to do it daily. I don't do it daily anymore. I am okay with being still, so I can do it. But not everybody can. And, you know, and sometimes people get very frustrated with themselves because they think, oh, mindfulness practice and meditation plays a big role and all these other people are doing and I should be able to do it, and they're shitting on themselves. But mindfulness practice is about grounding, and it is about giving yourself that space and being present and being aware. And you're doing it with hiking, and you do it every single day. You do some movement and outside. You go outside every single day.
I do.
And
I try every day, 5 days a week, however often I can do it, I do.
Yeah, no, but that's big. So that's your piece. Like that's the part that's very personal to you that allows you to create that balance and ground yourself, you know, and reconnect, you know, because you're right. Like when you're outside, in fact, when you're describing, you know, how you're taking your breath and all this stuff, I felt the need to take this big breath in. I was like, oh, I felt like I was out there as you're describing it, you know. I'm the same way. I grew up just like I was always outside. I was always barefoot, like always had my feet on the ground in the dirt, catching whatever was out there. And my little one is like that too. And I have to be outside as well. And it's really nice. It's when I'm cooped up too long, it's just, oh my God, I just even to get out and just breathe and sit somewhere. So, but you like moving. So, okay. So, share a little bit about your story with the viewers to tell us how you got to where you are now, because we're going to talk about, the next question will be, how has your past created your present? But first, let's start with your little bit of your story, like how you got to where you are right now.
So I've always been really active and athletic. I was such a tomboy in, you know, elementary school and junior high school. I was a rough and tumble kid. I was always roughhousing, and I like to be outside and get dirty and play in the dirt and collect rocks and catch lizards and do those types of things. And I took some martial arts classes off and on throughout my younger years because I loved it. It was physical. I like to be physically active and moving around, and I enjoyed it. I thought it was fun. But what really got me into self-defense in particular was about, I want to say 8 to 10 years ago. I was dating a guy, and we were play wrestling in my apartment, and he pinned me to the ground, and I couldn't get out of it. And even though in that moment we were just playing, an alarm went off in the back of my head, like, Nicole, you don't know what to do if this was real. Like, what would you do? And my mind just started racing. What would I do? What would I do? And I didn't know what I would do. And I don't like not knowing how to do something. And that has what has inspired many things that I have learned to do in my life, just because I think, well, in an emergency, I might need to know how to do this. I might need to know how to drive a stick. I might need to know how to ride a motorcycle. I might need to know how to shoot a bow and arrow. Like, I learn these things because I just want to know. I feel like knowledge is such power. I took my first self-defense class and loved it, and opened up my mind to what was possible with my body that I didn't even think about. And how I got involved with Girls Fight Back was about 6 years ago. I was introduced to the company, and I actually went on their website and saw what they did. And I had been a line producer in TV production for years. Had a career as a producer. I had been in there 12 years. My last production job, I was an executive at a international production company. So nice staff job, and they laid us off. Our whole department got laid off. And around that time, I had the opportunity to work with a group I knew in college that did social justice type of workshops, and they had been invited to do workshops for the military. And through that connection, I met the owner at the time of Girls Fight Back, and I saw their website and I said, oh my gosh, like this, I want to do this. I had been wanting to do something to help women, and my TV career is, it's hit, I'm laid off, and I've always wanted to try something new. I guess now's the time for me to try it. And if it doesn't work out, I'll just go back to production. That was always my, my fallback if this didn't work out, but I wanted to try it. And it was really scary and new and different. But I just said, all right, let's do this. So I emailed them and asked them if they had any openings, and said I wanted a job. They didn't have any openings at the time, but 3 months later they did. And I got trained to be a speaker. And part of the training was to take an impact class, impact personal safety, a 20-hour self-defense class. I took the class and loved it, and emailed the owner and said, hey, how do I become an instructor for this too? And I started training and became an assistant. All the while I'm speaking for Girls Fight Back, and worked my way up from a speaker to a junior speaker to a senior speaker. And 5 years later, now I am the CEO owner of Girls Fight Back, and I'm a lead instructor with Impact Personal Safety, and I'm on the board. And our two organizations work very closely together because we have the same mission. Impact is full contact, and Girls Fight Back is no contact or limited contact. And we reach different audiences, and we meld together, and it's just so powerful. And I just look back 6 years ago, and I think, if you would have told me 6 years ago that I was going to take over this company and then continue this work in this capacity, I would have said, there's no way. Like, there's no way that I could do this. And yet here I am doing it, and my passion for it has just grown. It's just grown for what I'm doing. And I just have so many things I want to do with the company, so many places I want to take it, so many communities I want to reach, so many people I want to help, that I'm not going to stop.
Oh my God. Well, there's no doubt that you're passionate about it. And it's fabulous to hear the excitement in your voice and the vision. Like, it's like, I would imagine, like, if we had 3 hours just sitting here, you would be like, but just spewing it all off, because it's like, you could see it's like circulating, in your brain. And that's absolutely fantastic. Tell me a little bit more, tell the viewers too, a little bit more about what your organization does. Like, what are some of the things that you guys do?
Yeah, absolutely. So Girls Fight Back was founded in 2001 by Erin Weed in honor of her friend and sorority sister, Shannon McNamara, who was taken from us too early in a very tragic event. She was murdered. And Erin started the company in honor of Shannon, to make sure that her story would always be told, that no one would forget her. And I'm here to make sure that no one forgets her, that no one forgets Shannon. And Erin started the company not to avenge Shannon, but to give people their peace back, and to teach women and girls that they can fight and that they have power, because she was inspired by how hard Shannon fought. And so what Girls Fight Back does is, before COVID, we would primarily travel to colleges and high schools and organizations in person and do a live seminar. It's a 75-minute seminar. We cover topics like intuition and awareness. We teach verbal strategies. We teach how to be an active bystander, how to set boundaries. We practice using our voice. And then we learn a very basic self-defense sequence that we call the Badass Basics. And we also have a gender inclusive version of the program, so that we can fulfill Title IX obligations at schools, because we also believe that everybody, regardless of your gender, can benefit from learning the basics of how to protect yourself and set boundaries. So we are a very inclusive organization. We believe everyone deserves this information, but we also understand that some groups may want to, they feel safer in a, you know, a group that's just for women, or a group that's just for men, or a group that's just for, you know, maybe a trans group or gender nonconforming group, or, you know, so we are very inclusive with how we give our information. And now that we are in a post-COVID world where we can't travel, we brought the information online. So now the programs are interactive, but via an online platform, and we teach the same, you know, the same type of information, and it applies, we feel like, even more now in this world, because we're dealing with so many things that are happening in our world right now. We have a pandemic. We are in the middle of a civil rights movement with Black Lives Matter, and addressing systemic racism and the injustices that have been plaguing Black, Indigenous people of color for hundreds of years. And there's a lot of emotions in the world. There are a lot of uncertainty in the world, and a lot of people are concerned for their safety. And what we teach applies not just in self-defense, physical, you know, confrontational scenarios, but just in dealing with people in general, your friends, your family, your coworkers, people on Zoom, people that you meet at the grocery store. So are there kind of life skills that can help you feel more empowered and more confident to go out and do things? And since a lot of people are having to do things by themselves because of COVID, we're not, you know, gathering in groups as much anymore. Maybe your hiking group or your run group or whatever, you have to now do those things on your own or with less people. This can help you feel more confident to be able to do those things on your own.
I think that's like absolutely fantastic. Like, coming from somebody who's, I love hiking too, and I've always loved hiking. And there were moments where I would be out, or even just like I would go for a bike ride because I love mountain biking. And there would be that little bit of, you know, I'm by myself, you know, it's getting a little dark, and, you know, and I got a little fearful, and with, you know, a reasonable, you know, it's reasonable to feel that way, but it is so different when you know that, you know, you can protect yourself, you know, that it's like I said, it offers so much more independence to a woman. But, you know, but actually, you're right. I mean, it doesn't matter the gender, because, you know, we can all be vulnerable. We can all be, put ourselves in a situation that would be good to be able to take control of it, because that's really what it is. It's like everything that you're saying has a lot to do with lack of control when you don't know these things. Even just the empowerment piece, let alone the physical piece, when you're going into the schools and you're teaching that. You know, it's, you know, like you're talking about boundaries and things like that. That's all mental. That's all mental and control and choice, that you're the one who has the choice. And it's huge, especially now. I think, you know, I grew up in the 80s, and, you know, there were, you know, parents were a little bit more around, you know, because you were limited to the things that you could do. But now it's like everybody's always on hyperdrive. Parents aren't around that much. Kids are on all the technology, and there's a lot of separation. And, you know, as a result, the little life skills that I took for granted in my generation, they're not being taught to a lot of kids. And it's simple as just being aware, you know, like when I was a kid, that's when they started with the Walkmans. Oh my God, with the cassette player, with the Walkmans and the earphones, you know. And, you know, so that was like back then, but they weren't, you know, you didn't see people with them a lot, you know. Now that's all you have. And then, like, even that's a risk. It's like, you know, I tell my daughter all the time, my teenager, we have a great neighborhood, but I'm like, listen, if you're going to go out for a walk or a run, you know, maybe don't put one in, you know, just be aware of space, you know, but yeah, so I love it. I absolutely love what you do. I took like 2 self-defense courses. Oh my God, long time ago, like when I was like in my late teens, early 20s. And one of them had us do this one exercise. It was very interesting. And bless the heart of this guy, because he put on a cup, and they wanted us, you know, they always say, oh, you know, if a man is attacking you, kick them in, you know, the private area, because they'll go down. And what they were trying to say is, number one, there's some guys that have learned how to take a hit there better than others. And the other thing is that they said it's not that easy to do. So they said, well, demonstrate. So bless their heart, but they had this one guy who put a cup on, and he had all of us go and kick him. And I can't tell you how many of us missed him. like maybe one or two of us hit him in the spine, but everybody else missed. So if that's your idea of self-defense, you know, saying, oh, I'll kick him and I'll get, you know, that right there, and that's just, I mean, that's a minute thing, it's a piece. But so what are the age groups that you do? You said you focus a lot on high school and college. Do you do stuff with adult women as well, or adults in general?
Yeah, absolutely. So we do all the age groups. So we've done, young kids like elementary, junior high, high school, college, and then we have um, a program that is like Girls Fight Back, but it's a program specifically for adults, and everything is customized. So I've presented at law firms, I've presented at e-commerce companies, I've presented for the military, and just depending on what type of information they want, because there's so much I can cover, and depending on if they want something that's more physical based or they want something that's more boundary based, we have a program that's called the Awkward Hug to discuss how do you get out of awkward situations and physical contact with people, colleagues, coworkers, family, how do you do it in an empowered way? So we can absolutely customize, and we can teach any group, because it's such universal information.
It really is. Like, do you ever get called into for companies to assist with their sexual harassment, protocol that they, like a lot of companies have to do yearly,
Yes.
on that. So do you get into that piece as well?
Yeah, absolutely. The Awkward Hug kind of addresses that as well. And in all the programs, we have a section where we practice the verbal strategies, and we'll show a scenario and show what are some verbal things that you can do or say to get out of that situation. Because your voice is so powerful, and that's something that we really push, and I really emphasize in my classes, is that your voice is your most powerful weapon, and it's your first weapon. And the more comfortable that we can get with, saying aloud no, or expressing what we need without feeling like we have to apologize for it, there's so much power in that, and just owning what we need. And especially as women, our society kind of pushes that we should not speak up, that we must take care of the feelings of others, we must be nurturing, all of these things, these gendered notions about our role and how we should behave, and that sometimes aren't conducive to our safety or our comfort. So we need to be comfortable with setting a boundary and not having to apologize for it. And if the other person's offended, that is not your responsibility to take care of their feelings. Your feelings matter too. We should be more concerned with our safety versus their feelings. So it's a lot of practice and kind of reinforcing that, and giving people permission. If they feel like they need permission, I am there to give them that permission to just say what you need. You don't have to apologize for it. We all know how to be nice people, but let's not put niceness first when our safety is in question. We need to put our safety first.
Yeah, and I, you know what, I think it's absolutely fabulous, especially that you work with high schoolers, because, there's this, when you're in high school, and when you're female in high school, you want so badly to fit in, you want so badly to have like a significant other, you want, and you end up just, you have no boundaries, like, and then, and what I've observed over as an adult, and based on a lot of the stuff, my own self-discovery, but even friends, friends that I love, but then, that I've observed, that I see them struggle as adults, struggle with boundaries. And then how are you as a parent able to impart proper boundaries when you don't even have them yourself, and so when you go into these schools, do you ever have any of these kids come up, no matter the gender, ever come up to you afterwards and like with like an emotional release, saying, you don't know how important this was to me, or, I mean, have you seen that happen quite a bit?
After almost every presentation, I have students or participants come up to me and share their stories. As part of the reason why I am also an NACP credentialed advocate is because I knew the type of work I was doing, and I was going to be working with a lot of survivors, and I wanted to know how to, speak to them. I'm a survivor myself, but I wanted to have training at least in how to be a comfort and to be able to respond and address, what they're coming to me with, these sometimes really awful stories. And they come up to me and they tell me how much this training meant, or that they're currently in a situation that they are now going to use this on, or something just happened or happened to someone they knew, or their therapist suggested they take a class like this, and now they're so happy they learned this, and now they're going to maybe go take another class. And it really it breaks my heart to hear those stories, but it also pushes me to keep doing what I'm doing because I see that it's helping. I see that someone is taking this information and it's either helping them avoid a potential situation going forward, or it's helping them in their recovery process to reclaim their power. And I will do this every day, and I will just keep doing it until there are no more survivors.
Yeah. And it's stunning to really, when you're out there in it, because you're out there in it, like you're meeting these individuals. You know, when somebody is not out doing what you're doing, they don't really know how bad it really is, because it's still very, you know, very quiet. I mean, there's so many ways that anybody can be physically abused, sexually abused, mentally, emotionally abused. And I think that it's very underrated how much really is out there. And so many just accept it as, well, this is just the way it is. And you know, especially with everything that's been going on. So how has, with all COVID going on, how has your organization adapted to, because you haven't been able to go to the school, so have you been able to at least do something?
Oh, we had to pivot, like 180-degree pivot, and figure out how to bring our training online and how to make it a viable option for people. And we've done it through Zoom. So everything that we do translates to an online forum, and Zoom has a lot of interaction tools, the chat, the annotation, you can see everyone. So we can actually still do a lot of the interactive parts, and I still get people up. I'm like, all right, it's time to stand up. And we stand up and we practice our hands up. We practice the movement, because that's such a big part of it. You know, self-defense is more than just the physical, but the physical is important because you need to know that you can back yourself up with your body if you need to, even though the majority of the time you're going to be using the verbal and the intuition and the awareness and all the non-physical things. But it's so important to be prepared, to know that you can do something, to know that you have an option. And one of the things that we really emphasize in our sessions is that whatever you did to survive your situation was the right thing to do. There's no judgment. It's not about, oh, you should do this, you should do that. No. Whatever you did to survive, if you are here, you did the right thing, and it is not your fault. What we're here to do is to give you additional options, so that if you encounter something again, now you have an extra tool in your toolbox. And education is just power, and just gives you more choices. And I feel like that is so important for people to hear and to know, that you do have options.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, as it's funny, as much as we can communicate with people, I mean, we can talk to people across the whole entire world, and at the same time, we communicate less in the end. Like we talk about things that, you know, this or that, but then the real close at heart stuff, you know, that we cave in on, you know. And I mean, as a parent, I have 3 kids. I have one that's, you know, a grown up, and then I have a little one, and then I have a teenager, you know. And, you know, as a mom, it's like, and they're all girls, and so you worry, you know. I think about my teenager. Okay, she's going to be a senior, and she's going to have to go off to college at some point. You know, does she have a skill set? Like, is it something, you know, can I like feel good about her going? And I got to be honest with you, I don't. I think that there's a lot of lack of awareness on her part, even though I talk to her about this stuff. I think sometimes you just get sort of caught up in the safety of maybe where you live. And, you know, if you live in a relatively safe place, and you make assumptions, and
Yes.
I mean, I know I did. Not that I'm not a survivor in a sense of I've never had anything. I don't know how. I could have been in very bad situations. I put myself into very bad situations, unfortunately, when I was in college especially. Luckily, nothing happens to me. I look back at that and I always thank God for that. I say to myself, you know, it could have been really, really bad. But nonetheless, you know, I thought I had the smarts, you know, and I could, you know, I'm a college student, I could do this. But it's just, it's one sometimes an innocent choice that you make. But again, I think it's the education. You said it. It's the education that bringing this to awareness, you know, even a conversation. Hey, these are the things that sometimes are said to like manipulate a little bit, you know, and being aware of that, and then having something to back it up. So you work cross country, right? So your organization
Internationally.
That's absolutely fantastic. So do you have any events coming up? I mean, we still have plenty of time to talk, but do you have events coming up that you know, people could look into, like that? Do you have classes? Do you have, aside from when you go to a school, but do you know, tell us a little bit about how your organization works so we can be involved in this too.
I would love to. So Girls Fight Back is primarily set up as, you know, we come to your organization or your group or your school for specific events. So I have an event coming up next month for a retreat, a running retreat, has asked me to be a guest speaker. There is a virtual outdoors convention that's happening in September. They've asked me to be a guest speaker for that. So Girls Fight Back primarily will come to your event, or if you have a group and you're like, hey, Nicole, I want you to come and teach my group, you know, with one of the programs that you offer, that's typically how we work. But now in the new world with COVID and many things going online, I'm exploring different ways of, you know, setting up, you know, groups like, okay, this class, quote unquote, class is going to be this day, this time. But Impact, the company that I work for as a lead instructor, they have public classes online, and I teach majority of those. So if people are interested in taking a class like that, those are already set up and they can take them through Impact, and they'll most likely see me teaching it as well. But for right now, Girls Fight Back, if they would like to engage or book me for a speaking event or to speak to their group or anything like that, they can just email me or give me a call, you know, connect to me through the website or through social media and let me know about what they're interested in. And then we work out, you know, day, time, and place. And, you know, I come and we'll do it. And I can customize it based on, you know, what you need. If you have something specific you want me to address, I can, you know, hit that portion a little harder. If there's something you don't think you need as much of, but you want something else. So everything can be customized to you.
That's great. That's absolutely fantastic, because, you know, I think your company is so important. And I think that, you know, viewers out there, it's important for you. I'm going to put Nicole's information all up so you can contact her, but it's important for you to, you know, for those of you that, I mean, granted, this is for anybody. I mean, it really is. It's really for anybody. And in a way, you know, teaching boundaries to boys is really important, because they have to understand that they can't, you know, there's things you can and can't do. And even, you know, whatever, it's like there's so much manipulation even on both sides, like truly both,
Yes.
you know, girls and boys. But it's so important, especially when you have daughters. So for those of you that viewers out there that have daughters, and especially younger, like under the 25 and under, you know, this is something that you want to support. And this is something that you want to look into these classes, and maybe even for ourselves. I mean, you know what, listen, I mean, I don't think I could even know what to do, you know, like I have a gun permit, you know, and I got trained to do that in the state of Connecticut. You know, I took my class, I learned how to shoot. And I have a gun, and it, you know, when my gun stays, it stays in my safe. And the reason it stays in my safe, because I don't have enough practice shooting my gun. And yeah. I'm not stupid, you know, I'm not a person to say, well, I have my gun permit and I have the right to carry my, you know, concealed, and I will, you know, and I'll carry it. But you know what, if you don't know how to use it, any second it takes for you to just fiddle with the gun just for a moment, it's a very dangerous situation, because that other person grab it and you're done. That's it. And so it's like anything, you know, what you're teaching people how to defend themselves, but mostly you're teaching them how to anticipate, how to avoid the situation before it gets to that level.
Yes, that's a big part of self-defense, is learning to recognize danger and to make a choice that keeps you as safe as possible. Like, I have extensive self-defense training, including, you know, ground fighting, weapons defense, but I don't go out looking for fights. I don't go down the deepest, darkest alley at 3 a.m. just because I want to prove something to somebody. I try to make as safe choices as I can. And you know what? Maybe I get back from a flight because my flight is delayed and I have to park 3 blocks down and walk home at 3 at night. that's a different story. That's something that I have to do, and I'm going to do it because that has become part of my life. But knowing what I know, I will do that in the most safe way I can, you know? So self-defense isn't about purposely putting yourself in a dangerous situation. It's about trying to keep yourself as safe as possible by recognizing danger, but also knowing that you can handle yourself if you happen to be in a situation that maybe less than ideal, but you have to still live your life. I had a friend recently, I'm not going to say her name because I want to keep her confidentiality, but she had texted me and said, you know, I walked out to my car tonight and there was a strange guy standing there, but I did what you told me. And I just looked at him and stood up really tall and confident and just walked to my car and got in, and he didn't say anything to me. And she told me that was really important for her because she usually would have her partner walk her down. But she said, but what if he's not available? Do I just not go to my car at night? Do I just not do that thing because I don't have someone to protect me? And I feel like that's such a big part of what we teach, is that you can protect yourself. You really are your own best protector. You don't have to rely on anyone. Yes, we should all help each other and be allies if we see someone in trouble, but that should be a mutual thing. It shouldn't be like one group is always depending on someone else to help them. Safety in numbers, of course. I'm not going to say always go out and do things by yourself, but you have to live your life. I do a lot of things by myself because, you know, I'm a solo traveler and I go and speak. It's just me. So I go and I speak and I travel all over. I also enjoy solo traveling and solo hiking. But, you know, there's some people that maybe don't even feel comfortable going to the grocery store by themselves or walking down to their car by themselves, things like that. And I want to just give people the empowerment of being able to make a different choice if that's what they want to do. If they want to feel more comfortable being able to do that, then I want to be able to give them the information so that they can feel like they can do that. And it's always just about choice. Like, what do you want to do? No one should ever force you to do anything. I'm not saying now you all have to go out there and do things by yourself. But it's if you want to be able to do that and feel like you have more independence, like you had said before, and just make proactive choices to live a safer life and open up your world instead of feeling like you have to limit it with this, you know, a laundry list of don'ts.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Because, you know, I mean, I think the fact that you travel is huge because, and a totally different, unrelated thing. It's just, you know, you learn about life by going into different cultures, going to different countries, meeting people, you know, and I love the idea of traveling. And in fact, I encourage my teenager, I'm like, I want you to travel. I want you to do that. But her dad, you know, her dad worries, you know, her dad's a police officer, and he says, you know, like, I don't think, my dog starts whining now. Oh yeah, it's a big Doberman, and she is the wussiest dog ever. So he doesn't want her to travel. And I get that. And in fact, I'm a little nervous about that. And, you know, I would love for her to just get up and go once she gets to a certain age, but she would have to be more aware of things. And in the beginning, she probably would do better doing with a group. But I have to tell you, like, I love doing things by myself too. And it's just so much more like you have that moment, you know, it's like you're two people. You have the piece of you that loves with the groups and, you know, your people that you know, your tribe, you whoever you hang out with. And then there's that other piece that loves to be by yourself. And I know I have confidence in myself. I know what I can or can't handle. My dog wants to make a little cameo here. So,
oh, that's horrible.
And then, but there are moments where I say, you know, I don't know if I would feel comfortable going there. Like, you know, I'll think about somebody invites me somewhere and say, okay, I have to go there, but I have to walk here. I don't know if I feel 100% comfortable with that because I think, you know, of, okay, this is where I'm going to be walking at this time of night by myself. Is that okay? I love that story about your friend saying, you know, that she did what you said and she took charge, and it was very empowering, you know. But she was also very aware of the situation. She didn't just like the dude just standing there. She you know, she made her presence known, but with no fear. You know, even if she was afraid, she didn't let on, you know, to show that. So what can you give like one thing for the viewers to like one little tidbit that you would suggest to do? Like give like one little scenario, nothing big. Let's listen, you gotta pay her to so we're just gonna give you, it's like a teaser, you know, of like one little scenario, and what we would do.
Well, first thing I would say, have you ever heard of the book The Gift of Fear by Gavin DeBecker?
No.
Highly recommend that book,
Okay.
hands down. So definitely check out that book. Gavin talks very extensively about intuition and how important intuition is. So I feel like that's the best takeaway from any type of self-defense and just empowerment living, is to trust your intuition. And it sounds easy. It sounds like, oh yeah, I already do that. But so often we don't. We deny it. We see someone who turns our stomach, and maybe they have a nice smile, or they're dressed really nice, or they're a friend of a friend, or we've met them before.
Yes.
We've always had this weird feeling and we don't want to offend them. So we just let that feeling go. We need to start listening to that, because our intuition, its whole purpose is to protect us from danger. And it is picking up on something that we are consciously not picking up on. And we need to, instead of denying it, we need to accept that that's what it is and make our decisions based on that. And even if it's no longer wanting to be with that person, or telling that person you don't want to be alone with them, or telling them you're standing too close to me, I need you to step back. But trusting your intuition and feeling like you can have a confident voice and say something with assertiveness. It should be, I don't want to talk to you, versus, can you stop talking to me? It's such a different message.
Right.
I don't want to have this conversation. And if they think you are a B word, like,
Yeah.
okay, you're a stranger. I don't care what you think, but
That's
my safety is more important. And even if it's someone you know, they should respect your boundary. Anyone who respects you will respect your boundary.
Yes.
And if they don't, that gives you information on them. And do you want that person in your life that is going to disrespect you and your needs? I don't want people like that in my life. So it's just, I can't make that decision for you. You have to decide for yourself what you are willing to accept from people. And something that has been said multiple times in Impact is that boundaries are not just for safety, they're for education. They teach other people how you want to be treated.
Yes, absolutely. That is, oh my God, that's the best take. Seriously, really, because, boundaries, as a coach, I teach people that I didn't have boundaries for years, for so many, in so many ways, and mostly within interpersonal relationships, friends, people that I was dating, family members, and it is all about the respect. It's once you decide that you deserve the respect, and then you set the boundary, and then you you're basically saying to the person, this is how you need to treat me. This is how and you set it, and they can make the choice. Like you said, if they respect you, they will understand. Oh, my gosh, I'm so sorry. I didn't mean that. I have a client, and I'll also keep her name out of it so that we keep the privacy, but I have a client who, she broke up with a boyfriend, and he has been blowing out her phone, text messaging, calling, very, very manipulative type of stuff. And she's sharing me some of this stuff. And I said, I'm like, listen, I just consider something. I said, he's, what he's doing to you it's manipulative. He's trying really hard to get in your head, and just get back with him or whatever. But if he really loved you and respected you, because then they do that. They'll send the text, and they'll send this, and they'll say, because that's the other thing is, right, and I know you talk about that, the fact that sometimes the people that we think we can trust are the abusers. They're the ones that, it's not the stranger that comes out of nowhere and attacks you. It's
82% of the time a survivor is assaulted by someone you know. So it's less likely to be the stranger, and it's going to be someone you know. And that's not talked about as much because it's not as sensational. We don't hear about it in the news. It's, the stranger jumping out of the bushes, which does happen. But the majority of the time, it's that person you knew that now thinks that because they have your trust, they can push that boundary and, assault you, disrespect your no, and it's not okay.
Right. And that's what it comes down to is that, like, this individual respected you, and you said, I no longer want to see you, and that's it. That would be it. That would be it. And, it took me as an adult to realize this, after years of bad relationships, and coming to the conclusion that, when somebody says, oh, I love you, why would you, like, they give you the whole spiel. And then I thought to myself, but you know what, really, if somebody loves you, they're going to respect you. And that means that if even if you're hurt, it is what it is. It's like you say, okay, can we talk? But let's talk in a different way, not that manipulative type of scenario. And I think what you offer is perfect for anyone at any age, because we make an assumption that teenagers, they don't know anything. I was 45 before I woke up. Seriously, it's just 5 years ago. So it's, we all need it. I have clients that are older than I am that just are not there. They just don't, they don't know how to respect themselves. And then they let other people disrespect. They have no boundaries. And they're horrible relationships, very manipulative, things like that. How old was the oldest student you've ever had?
For a Girls Fight Back presentation, I think my oldest student was 50s or 60s. And at Impact, I think around the same age, maybe, 50s, late 60s maybe. And I remember I did a presentation earlier this year before COVID, and it was for a mixed gender audience for a company. And we were talking about the verbal strategies, and we got to the Q&A section, and I had, a man raise his hand, and he says, so this really can be used for anybody, right? He said, because I could use that with my friend or my whatever. And I was like, yeah, exactly. It doesn't matter your gender or the gender of the person that you have to have this interaction with. Your boundaries matter regardless of who you are and regardless of who they are, and they're universal. And he was just like, wow, I did. And then there was talking back, oh yeah, I could totally say that if it was my friend or my coworker or my, my family or whatever. And it was just really interesting to see them connect with it in that way, because maybe they hadn't thought of it in that way before. And they were all, in their 30s, 40s, 50s, folks to get that information and to connect with it in that way, and in such an enthusiastic way. It was really cool to see them just being like, oh wow, but I can use this too. Yes, of course you can. Everybody can.
That's, that's such a great point, because it's true. We make an assumption that's women. But we've all been in situations, any gender, any age, where we are manipulated, where we just, for whatever reason, we give up our power, and then we suffer the consequences afterwards. The consequences could be mild, or they could be very severe. Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that a man. It was like a light bulb moment. He connected with, like you said, and he was just like, wow, I can use this, because who knows what was going on in his world.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, wow, this is very cool. Because it's just, when you're self-defense, you always think of just the physical element of it, but you're bringing so much more to the table. You're bringing so much mental and emotional strength to all the individuals that you're speaking to. So that's absolutely fabulous. That's really, really great. So if somebody wants to get in touch with you, you said that you can call them. We're going to give the information. And how long would it take for them to book you? So let's say an organization called and they say, we're putting something together and we have a month away. I mean, do you have a limit? Couple weeks?
No, any time really. I mean, I've done something months out. I've done something where we need something right away. So I have an agency that I work with, a speaking agent that handles, bookings and the back end of it. So they handle all that part of it. They typically like to have at least a month just for, the business logistics stuff, but we can make anything work. If someone wanted me next week, we could make it work. So I'm just happy to be able to give this information to anybody and to help anyone feel more empowered. I love getting Instagram messages of people telling me, I finally felt comfortable hiking by myself, or I'm going on my first solo trip, and it's because watching your videos, it just really, it makes me feel so good. And it's such, that's why I do it, is because if I'm even just reaching one person, I'm doing my job. And to see that I'm able to reach so many people, and then the ripple effect, because then they tell their friend, and then they tell their friend. And, I've taught classes where I get an email from the college back the week after. They're like, oh, the students are still going around yelling no to each other and saying, respect my boundaries. And I'm like, that's great. they remembered.
That's so great. That's so great. You know what? I'm so thrilled that you're, that you came on. I really am, because, and I want so badly to just like spread your name out, spread the organization out, to get you to have even more gigs, because of the fact that this is so important. This is so important. And again, like I'm not speaking as a coach, and I'm not speaking as a woman who really suffered with not understanding proper boundaries her whole adult life. But I'm like coming as a mom is to say, my God, I worry about my girls, and, I can provide them with X amount, but sometimes, it's different when it comes from mom. But when someone else says it and they say, well, mom said that too, and now this lady's saying it, and oh my God, she's also showing me these like really cool things to do. I love it. I absolutely love what you do. So I'm going to make it my mission to push your organization, because I think it's, I think it's so valuable and so necessary. So, I had one more question, and the funny part was, the question was, you chose for the title for the title of tonight's conversation, personal empowerment through self-defense, and the funny thing is that you've told us why you chose that. Like you basically said it, because I never really thought about that. It is empowering, to feel like you can kick a little butt, without sounding, cheeky. But there's so much more to that. Like you bring so much more to that conversation and to that classroom, which is so needed now. I think teenagers now, especially girls, but teenagers are so much more lost than my generation ever was, and your generation. And I think that they need this. They need to hear it. They need to know that they have more power than they give themselves credit for, and that they can overcome. And yeah, I love it. I'm so excited. Like, all I keep thinking in my head is, what can I do? Like, where can I send you? Like, who can I talk to? And I actually have a great organization that I'm gonna connect you with, because
Thank you.
it's a women's organization, and I think you would be fabulous for it. It's a good friend of mine. She runs the organization. So yes, I mean, anything would you like to leave, depart with, to the viewers? Any last, thing, words of wisdom, whatever?
First, I've enjoyed very much speaking with you today. Thank you. And thank you for everything you're going to do to help push, the organization out. My mission is to teach self-defense all over the world. I just want every woman to have this information, because education is power, preparedness is power. And I just want to leave you with, you're worth fighting for. You are, and you are completely capable of defending yourself. Society may tell us that we're weak. We may feel like we see movies where, oh, there's no way I could take down someone bigger than me. No, it's not strength against strength. It's your strength against their weaknesses. And there are so many things that you can do. You have so many options. And I don't want anyone out there to listen to those messages that tell you that you're helpless or that you can't do anything. Those are lies. Those are myths. You are so powerful. There are so many things that you can do, and you are worth fighting for.
Oh my God. That was like the best. Like, that was like the best ending ever. Oh, that was absolutely fabulous, Nicole. Thank you so much for being on tonight. And so I will be posting the information to get to Nicole. But so this is a pre-recorded. So we're recording this in the summer, and this is going to be airing when it's airing right now, what you're watching, but September, October, something like that. So I'm actually going to start posting you way before, because I want this information out there. I want you to get it out there. So for those of you that have posts coming up all along, this is the fabulous Nicole Snell, because she is amazing, and she's absolutely just, I want you to teach me. Like, I want, I'm
I'd love to.
Class, like, who could I get this class going and get like a few of us together? And so that sounds great. So thank you, Nicole, so much, and for being here. And it's been a pleasure. And I'm very happy that you're doing what you're doing. This is just very, very much needed. And thank you.
Thank you.
So
Thank
thank you everybody for coming on tonight and viewing. And again, I will be posting the information so you can get in touch with Nicole. And again, remember, this is all about you. So thank you so much for joining Mindful Conversations. And my name is Dr. Lori Monaco. I almost forgot my name. And you have a great week. And remember, be you, be real, and be extraordinary. Thanks so much.